welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. RFK Refugees Podcast. Ted here, Jon here, welcoming you back into another excellent edition of the RFK Refugees Show. It is the Henny Darby edition. Jon out here repping his very unfortunate Forward Madison kid. I'm out here representing my team in Richmond. That's on Wednesday. We got no DC next week. No Spirit next week? Do we have Spirit next week?
They play Portland. I believe it's next weekend.
There we go. Okay, so they are not affected by the international break. SCM, is this a USL League One podcast? It is a Henny Darby week podcast. Let's just say that. All excited for the Wednesday game against Forward Madison, which is a little bit disappointing.
It is the only time that I will ever brook a League One discussion. This is it. This is the time we're making it happen.
Yeah, we're all out here repping it. But yeah, Jon, how was your weekend, my friend? I hope it was well.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I think made a little money on DC United on the weekend. That's always good. And then I really thought I was going to see some goals at Audi Field on Sunday. Really should have, and we'll talk about that later. But overall, pretty good, pretty decent soccer weekend.
Yep, pretty decent. I refereed 2 games out in blistering heat.
How you feeling?
It was
are you
loads of fun?
Are you rehydrated?
I'm alive, which I think is the most important thing to talk about. Saturday was really bad. Sunday it kind of cooled off a little bit. It got the cloud cover sort of rolled in and kind of made it a little bit easier towards the second game I had to do. And it was little it was like U11 travel, which apparently they do. I did not know you could do travel that young, but I guess you can. But let's jump right into it. Let's talk. We're gonna start with DC. If you wanna get on the show, talk Spirit. We're gonna first talk a little bit about the about some happy news before we get into the distressing news, I guess you could say, or maybe the on the verge of resolution news. I think is maybe what we're talking about it. But we're going to the only thing Jon can do to make Ted more mad is bring green sauce for the pupusas on the show. I don't know. It's true. I think I'm kind of over his. I don't know if I'm over the green sauce yet. But I'm kind of over the Forward Madison trolling that he does on a regular basis.
Well, you see, Ted, they have a New Jersey where they have a QR code where you can buy someone a beer, and I feel like just for that, I almost bought it. I had it in the cart. I was like, this would make Ted slightly annoyed. I kind of want to get it, but $80 to annoy you is, I think, maybe not the price I want to pay at this exact moment.
There's a limit.
Right.
There's a limit. All right, let's get into DC. DC United 3-1 victors over the Philadelphia Union. Finally. I still find it funny. I want to go back and watch the 2017 game because that was when DC was bad and somehow we beat Portland. I don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. But DC United picked up their first victory against the Philadelphia Union 3-1. Let's start with right off the bat. Now let's start with the thing that's bad, which was the fact that the game was not on TV because there was this. Hold on, let me check my notes. Washington football team. I've never heard of them. Never heard of them at all. Now occupying not one but 2 channels on NBC Sports Washington. So they did not broadcast the game. Was only available online. I recorded the encore because I was at the Kickers game, unable to watch the game.
I think the second half was on CSN Plus. I think they put it.
Yeah, it was.
But still,
it was. The second half was there live, and then they did the encore. But the encore also cut out part of the game, which is not fun.
Not great.
So I was not happy about that. Watching my recording, something like I get like 15 minutes in, and we skip to like the 20th minute, and the first goal. And then the first goal for the Union. But DC got off to an absolutely flying start in that first 10-15 minutes. They were just all over the place, attacking. Jordi Reyna, let's talk about him.
And let's too note that this should have been the Bill Hamid return game.
It should have been.
So Bill Hamid came down with COVID. He's vaccinated, mild symptoms, should be fine, but was going to start this game. And then I think we heard about maybe an hour and a half before kickoff time from Goff that was not the case. Then there was a little piece of me that was like, this is the Chris Seitz game. They took a picture. Chris got a picture taken of him walking into the stadium. This is it. Nope. John Kempen rolled out there again. So this is his first. I think this is his first. Am I right? This is his first win since he's come back. I think it might be. But there was a draw in there.
You talking about John Kempen?
Since
the first win?
since this most recent Hamid injury.
Well, he played a majority of the Columbus games. I don't know if you want to call that he came off the bench for that.
Almost
game.
gave that away.
Almost, but yeah, it is his first win. He didn't really have a whole lot to do in this game. I remember a couple saves he had. So this wasn't a game where he saved us, so to speak. This was a game where DC just dominated Philly. Really, the midfield, both Russell Canouse and Junior Moreno, I thought were excellent, sort of stopping the Union midfield from getting going. Defensively, they were great. Obviously, Birnbaum gets the knock with the own goal. I don't know if you could blame him too much. It kind of comes across his body. He tries to make a play on it, and it's just kind of an unfortunate play. Don't think you can say much on it. But attack wise, I mean, this team was flying. It was one touch passing. It's almost become. I feel like when I've watched DC over the past 10 years, those moments always stick out when you could see them passing and moving. And this was the time I was kind of sitting there watching it, and I'm like, this is becoming regular. Like, this is becoming like, it's only fun when they score it now. It's no longer like fun to see them do those. It's still fun, but it's no longer like edge of your seat because I just expect it now. I expect this team to make passes, to do things. And Yordi Reyna was by far the best player out there on the field, 100%.
So Yordi, it's interesting. So Yordi, after he scored previously in the game prior, he played amazing afterwards. So basically, he is a player that if he can make a positive contribution in the beginning of the game, after that he's gonna fly. And I think it's interesting because the only other thing we really remember about Yordi from his half season last year was that he injured a guy and then fell apart and then was basically no good for the rest of the time he was there. So like he had a reverse action. But now he scores a goal in this game off of a rebound from an Ola Kamara header from inside the 6, puts it away. And then he starts dribbling past people. He is saucing it up all over the left wing. He is playing with hyper confidence, and now he's got 4 goals in his last 5 games maybe. I think he's made team of the week twice.
Yeah, he was on the bench for the team of the week this time, but yes, and
so that's
So
that is, I think I had written him off as a function for the rest of the season based on his salary, based on his contribution level, based on his confidence when he got on the field. But really, he looks great when he plays with Edison Flores. Like they're not having. It's not like a Lucharu situation where they need each other to contribute because Yordi has been playing well even when Edison wasn't on the field so far in this last maybe month and a half. But they do find themselves pretty quickly, and they do have a very good chemistry. So let's hope that continues. Yordi is a X factor that this team really needs when you look at the attacking depth otherwise.
Yeah, what did you think of Edison Flores in this game? I'm curious. He didn't register anything on the score sheet. I thought he made some good plays. There's a lack of like sharpness and just I guess game changing ability from him, if that makes sense. I'm still not quite seeing it yet. His FootMob rating was 5.5, so FootMob did not think he was very good.
He was better the previous game that he also came off at the 65th minute. So it's good that you're a player in that position was having such an ineffectual night through 60, and you're still just putting a walloping on Philadelphia. Obviously, the full team pressure was in effect the entire night. It burns up these players, right? I think that there's some soft tissue injuries maybe as a result, but you cannot argue with the results that gets most of the games that it plays. Obviously, sometimes it doesn't work out, but as a viewer of this team, I'm not a neutral, but I imagine as a neutral, you've got to enjoy watching DC United play when they're actually doing the thing that they're known for now.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to see the team have an identity, and I think we've talked about this. I think it creates a conundrum. I think for when we're pretty much certain that Areola is going to come back. They say he's been day to day. He's got a 2-week break. He's not on the World Cup roster. I don't know though. I think Timothy Weah picked up an injury, so
they better not.
They
better not pull him in there. Leave him alone.
Yeah,
leave Paul alone.
You think a trip to El Salvador and Honduras would do Paul some well. But we talk. One important thing to bring up. So as much as we've talked about this team, one factor of this team has been they haven't been getting too many draws. So they're winning games. They're obviously 9 wins, 10 losses. So they're still, you'd like to see that maybe be bumped up a little bit. But I think, maybe this aggressive style is paying dividends in MLS because the wins is the first tiebreaker. Total wins is first tiebreaker. So I almost they're almost in a better spot where if they're tied on points with Orlando, Nashville, Philadelphia, Montreal, they right now have the upper hand over them because they have total wins. They have the wins column. So I think that's something interesting to kind of keep an eye on. This team, we've lamented some of this team, giving games away, and that's not good. If you're in a position where you have a draw, you should take it. And you should finish out that point. It's not necessarily a good thing. But I think the style of going for wins is causing them to pick up wins where maybe other teams maybe settle for a point. I think about the Columbus game. That's a game where they went all out aggressive. It worked, and they could have played conservative. Probably most teams would play conservative in that sense, and they picked up a win, and that's a big win for them. So
we should also talk about the Abela rope-a-dope goal that he scored to sort of ice the game. We've all have seen the replay by now. He was the only, I think you said it on Twitter, the only person in the stadium that doesn't think maybe at the moment he was offside was the AR or was the linesman. And
it was the most funniest goal ever.
He played that to his advantage. He just he did an okey doke is the only thing I can think of to say. Basically, he did a 5-star skill move for no reason with his back to goal, and then outside boots, right foot, Ricardo Quaresma style into the net to ice the game to make the margin 3-1.
Yeah.
Abela is now second in the league in goals per minute, behind Kamara goals. So that is Minnesota United was very, very smarmy about that move for their fans. We're very much like, good luck with this guy. I don't know if he's going to work out. He's kind of sucks, and he's looked okay. I think that Losada knows that the way that you have to deploy this guy is like super sub, like 15, 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. He's not gonna have the legs for it, but maybe he can make something happen at the close point. But
and I think it more sticks to the mind. There are a lot of players that get, it's sometimes justifiable. They get written off when they get traded or something happens. Jordi Reyna got written off by Vancouver fans. They're like, good luck with him, and written off by DC fans, and
and podcasters
and podcasters. I think Albia is sort of the same thing. It wasn't a right fit. I think there is something to be said, and I'll have to look at Minnesota's. I think Minnesota's going to struggle if they bringing in Latin American talent with where they live, unless you're able to sort of surround them. I'm not convinced Adrian Heath is as good of a coach as maybe some want to make him out to be, and I think maybe it's just an environment that didn't suit Albia, and then he comes here, he comes to DC. There's a much higher Latin culture on the team.
There are 900 Argentinians just hanging out, drinking mate. So I think you're right.
You have an Argentinian coach who probably maybe at some point they've had interactions at points, and that can make the difference. That can make you more. Was it dazed? Porpa says Heath is Heinze with results. We'll see. I feel like Heath's shtick is going to eventually run out. With Minnesota, we'll see about that.
Let's bring Rich on here to talk about this game here for a few minutes before we get into the spirit.
Yep.
Rich, what you thinking? What's on your mind?
Hey guys, so man, that was a really good game, and I think that for me, it's just not about the players. We have so many good players now. We're so deep, but I think it's all because of the system. And I think that when I watched the game, what stood out to me was they would score, and the whole team, all the subs were just like mob the guy, and it was just they're having so much fun, and they're buying into the system. And when you have that, you can become unbeatable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I think that matters more than many things. It's easy to be engaged and joyful when you're winning, and although the team hasn't really been winning a bunch of right now, so I guess that's not the total excuse, but the camaraderie is good. The vibe in the locker room continues to be good. DC has had a good locker room vibe for quite a while, for as long as we've been covering the team officially. Like, there's not been, even in bad years, the team stays together. You're not hearing leaks from the locker room. You're not hearing players snipe at either the coach or each other. On the field, generally, you're not seeing a lot of disagreement. So I think that they're just generally a agreeable group of guys, or at least professional, that they can sort of keep their disagreements out of the public. But right now, Rich, like you say, they are all bought into the system. They're bought into their roles in the team. There doesn't appear to be anybody that's, vocally talking about that they think they should be doing X or Y or playing more minutes or whatever else. It's just been, everyone is bought in to try to get where they can get with this roster that they have built.
Yeah, but they also, the funny thing is that this style seems to work for MLS. I've been saying it for a long time, is MLS defending sucks. And it's the same thing with the national team. You should be attacking, because more often than not, you're going to score. The team that scores the most goals is going to win. And you can even see it when they lost these last few games. They didn't seem discouraged. They seemed like, we can score, and they just kept going. So I think there's something to that, and I think that this team has something special in terms of the attack mentality. And like, I agree with you. Like, Flores didn't seem like he had it totally, but he still contributed. He was big part of the pressure, turning them over in their own half. They couldn't get the ball out of their half the first 20 minutes, although I couldn't see it on TV.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing, the most interesting thing, I think, was a stat from Matt Doyle. This team has had the highest expected goals turnaround from 2020 to 2021 of any MLS team ever. Now, again, it's a smaller sample size in 2020, but still, it's been and you're right about, I don't think necessarily MLS defending is terrible. I think if you follow the money, you can see why maybe the defending in MLS it is a lot about the top end talent in the attack. When you've got $3, $4, $5 million players versus $300,000 defenders, you're going to have some lopsided results in a lot of games. We saw, but hey, it makes the league entertaining. That Dallas Austin game was absolutely nuts to watch. So
Goal fest.
Rich, thanks so much for calling in, man. We really appreciate it. And thanks for giving your thoughts.
We always have a good game right before international break. That's how we do it. we beat Inter Miami in Miami, sort of like, we got this thing, and then there's time off. That's what we do. But we promised that we were going to talk Spirit, so we should do that. So we're going to talk about the game also. There's less to say about the game. I think there's some stuff that happened at the game. I believe Angus is going to call in a little bit and talk about that. But the amount of news out of this team off the field in the last 3 weeks is bananas. I think it's 3 weeks. Maybe it's 2 weeks. Maybe time has folded in on itself. But the biggest hammer to drop today was a article on the Washington Post. But this is, I think, joint byline of Molly Hensley Clancy, who was the writer of the previous story that came out, that the Richie Burke firing / whatever we're currently calling it, and Stephen Goff also sort of contributed to this post. But the interesting thing here is that the owners of the Spirit are sort of fighting it out, and privately until very recently, until this morning at 4 a.m. when the article dropped. How do we get started here? So basically, I want to start with one thing that happened. It is incredible to me, all the goodwill that this team had in 2020, with the Challenge Cup and just everything involved with that. It just seemed like this team had such goodwill. We were talking on the show about how much more excited we were about the Spirit than DC United that next season. And just to watch them squander it, I do want to bring up something they did. And who knows who the genesis of this idea was, but the game against the Courage was a service member appreciation night. Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. The teams do this all the time. But they invited General Michael Hayden, a very controversial figure, a person who was a part of administrations that did some very, very questionable things. I won't dive too deep into what he did, but this almost seemed like on the one hand, you have DC United doing a Pride night, doing a Pride Tifo,
putting forward all these ideas, and then you have on the other end a organization that's putting forward almost I don't want to say an opposite view, but a view that's very different from I think what the fans they have, and that to me was very shocking and to see. It was almost like they can't get out of their own way at this point by doing something like that. And then we can talk about the article and
yeah, I think
we can talk about the game.
Yeah, I think specifically about that too. I was having a conversation in the press box during the game about that and sort of saying that was the discussion on Twitter before, is does the team know who its current fans are? Do they care? Do they want different fans? And do they think this is the way to go about it? I think there's a strong possibility that the perception that we all have, so we're all, we're podcasters. We interface mostly with very online people on Twitter and Facebook. Not really on Facebook. Twitter and Twitch and the chat. And sort of the super fans that are there week in, week out. We know what we think. We know what that group thinks. And the question is this one of those Twitter not real life things, as far as does this bother the random person in the fans or in the stands when you're looking at families, mom and dad with 3 kids sitting out there eating a hot dog in the cheap seats? Do they care? Does that bother them? Or
probably not.
That's always the struggle, right? Or the people that maybe are in the Eagle Bank Club who buy the $2,000 seats. Are they bothered by it? If they're bothered by it, it doesn't happen. If they have antipathy about it, then it continues to happen. But I think on the whole, just like the Anson Dorrance hire, just like there are a bunch of things that you just don't put out there right now unless you're trying to antagonize the group of people that you do know won't like it. So, just sit on this. This is not something that had to happen. This was something that was they chose this to do this now. Obviously, I think probably the Armed Forces Day was probably in promotions long before. But special guest, he didn't get brought up. He wasn't. Maybe he was at the game. There wasn't a PA announcer talking about him. So it literally just existed as an online post that pissed people off. Basically, is what it all boiled down to. So
that's interesting. I wonder if the response though provoked them not to do it. I don't know.
Well, we can talk about what the front office decided to do at the game. About
let's go ahead. Let's bring in Angus,
star
who was at the game,
star of print and screen. Angus, man of the hour. Angus, are you on there? I bet. Yeah. Congrats on your first Washington Spirit game. Very, very uneventful, very normal. This happens all the time. So I'll set you up. I'll set you up. So if you watch the game on Paramount Plus, I believe it was on Paramount Plus this weekend, you may have seen on the coverage a sign that said "Sell the team, Steve." I believe it said. You may have only seen it briefly because it was taken down or asked to be taken down. It was put back up. It was asked to be taken down again. And then later on at the end of the game, there was a chant by both the Spirit Squadron, the folks that were there from Rose City Collective, and then also the traveling North Carolina Courage supporter group that was there sitting in the same group, chanting, "Sell the team." So, Angus, you were a central part of this, but I believe you were one of the people holding the 2 poles. Is that correct?
Yes, I was. A lot of you may know Douglas Reyes Teron. He's a good friend of mine. Met him through DC United and stuff like that. One of the reasons why I was actually at the game in the first place is I knew he was going to be there. And I was like, hey, I saw the 2 pole, and I was like, hey, are you planning on putting this up? And he goes, yeah. I'm like, do you need a hand? Because it's pretty wide. He's like, yeah, of course. Anything I can to help would be great. And I was like, yeah, no worries. And so I held it up. And then we were thinking, and we took it down after the first minute. But a couple minutes into the game after that, we were like, oh, let's put it up full time so people could see it. Because there were other banners being put up that the squadron put up or were in the squadron section that you could see on the broadcast as well that says, I believe, listen, believe, and protect. And then there was a smaller banner underneath that. And so we moved into another section to put up ours where we split it between the safe standing and the seat itself. And actually, if you look at the broadcast, you could see the moment where security kind of clocked on and came over to us to tell us to take it down. And that was at about at 2:19 left at the 47th and 19-second mark of the first half, so into the added time section of it, is when they came over, and I got Dougie's attention because it was his banner, and I was like, "Hey, they're trying to take it down. What do you want to do about this?" And he's like, and so he started having a conversation with the guest services folk who came over to ask us to take it down. The main talking point was what point of the fan code of conduct does the banner violate? Because to our knowledge, it didn't violate any set forth by NWSL or in this case, DC United and Audi Field, because the Spirit actually does not have a fan code of conduct readily available for its fans to look at, or at least easily accessible to our knowledge.
One will be coming soon,
And
Angus.
Most likely, yes. Probably with an that says any hate against the front office or ownership.
Please do not be. The rules will say, "Don't be mean to me, comma. This is Steve."
Yeah, yeah. It was at that point where I asked the guy who wants us to take this down, and his response was the ownership, and didn't go any further than that. And that's what I heard from him. I don't know if that's exactly who asked for it to be taken down, but that's who he used. Whether or not that was him just trying to get us to get it down faster or not, I don't know, but that's what was said to me. And, you know, after asking and him not having an answer for us, he decided to get in touch with a different rep from the team. And this is when I noticed, and a couple of us also noticed, a lot heavier security presence in the supporter section. For those who haven't been to a Spirit game, and having been at both the DC United game and the Spirit game, the security is a lot less hands-on in the supporter section during Spirit games, but the amount of security that started walking around during halftime down on that front row where the smoke machine usually is for DC United games definitely was a lot. It was a pretty substantial increase from that had been walking around during the first half. It's been brought to my attention and a couple of our attention afterward that there was actually a police officer waiting outside of the section, out of eye shot, just in case things got bad, I guess, whatever. And so eventually, the other Spirit rep came, and Douglas said this best to Molly and the other reporter that were there, but I'm trying to do him justice here because I spoke with him earlier about talking on the show, and he's like, "Hey, I won't be able to call in, but just do your best." And I was like, "Okay." So from what I remember, he said to them that the reason it was taken down and the agreement that was brought in place was that we would display it for the first minute of the second half and then take it down, mainly because there are good people in the organization that we do want to protect, and we don't want their jobs to kind of go away because there are connection with the front office. And we've already seen that connection can kind of get squandered really quickly under this ownership group, you know, for whatever reason you might want to take. And so we wanted to kind of make sure that there was still a good relationship, or at least a relationship between the fans and the front office, because we don't want to alienate anyone. The sell the team chant was also an idea of both Douglas and I at the end of the game. I talked to him about it because they took our sign down, but like, how are they going to kick out an entire supporter section with like 2 minutes left to go? And there was it's a friendly group between us and the Courage supporters who were there. And we asked them if they would please stand in solidarity with us. And they said, yes, of course, anything you need. How would you want to do it? And so they actually brought over their whole group, and they brought over a drum, and they all joined us in our part of the section to do that chant. And yeah, it was an experience for sure. It's quite funny because I've heard and seen a lot worse being said about ownership and the front office at DC United games, and being chanted out of the DC United supporters section to no response from the front office or ownership. Yet a banner that has no real that has nothing that nothing violates gets such a large uproar was interesting.
Clearly, it struck a nerve. I think the reporting that came out this morning about the fact that there were previously already discussions underway for Steve to sell his shares to Michelle Kang. Almost an agreement sort of in place already to do so, and then he sort of backed out at the last second and dug his heels in and didn't want to do it. Clearly, the suggestion to sell the team is in the front of his mind. He's very touchy about it. I think too at the last Spirit game, I think someone sort of popped out at him with that sign, like in a hallway, like someone had like a gorilla sign and showed it to him. So
somebody else did have a lot smaller of a sign. I forget exactly who it was, but I did see them at the game and then later on Twitter as well. I forget who that was, and I apologize to that person if they are listening or do listen in the future for not crediting you with this. But I did see another sell the team sign, and I don't believe that it called out Baldwin personally, and maybe that's why. And also it was smaller, so it didn't really get on the broadcast. And I think that was the main issue. Was if you look at the screenshot of the broadcast view, you can very clearly see it above the goal that the Spirit were attacking towards on the first half. So I don't think that really looked good on the for the front office people who were or were not in attendance. I don't know if they were or were not. But yeah, I don't want to steal any thunder from like the Squadron or like Rose Room Collective, because like again, I've only been to one game and I was just helping out a friend, and this is just what ended up happening. But I really do like appreciate all the work that they're doing, and if you do want to get out to a Spirit game and do want to support this kind of movement, please do. I highly encourage it. Good atmosphere. It's a great group of people. They're doing terrific things, and I can't speak highly enough of the people at Rose Room Collective or at the Spirit Squadron and those North Carolina Courage fans. I forget their supporters group name, and I apologize to them.
The Uproar is the name.
For what everyone did yesterday at that game, to basically support one of our own was pretty terrific.
And Angus, we're not here to give PR advice to the owner of the Washington Spirit, but I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that I would say about 2,000% more people know about this after the sign being taken down. You got press in the Post, you got press in where a whole bunch of places, right? I thought I saw some other sort of larger national publications.
Yeah, I think it's DeFactor. They wrote a piece about it that I believe it was one of the two people who were at the game. And by the way, Molly was just at the game to be at the game. Like, she wasn't even there as a story or anything. She was there as a fan and just enjoying herself. And then she saw the banner, and then she saw the little kerfuffle going on. And so she actually came up with like food from the concession stand in hand, because that's what she was doing beforehand. Like, she had like a hot dog and fries and was like, "Hey, what's going on here?" And that's how that happened. So that's how the media really got a hold of this. And I'm glad they did, because it is pretty important. And like Goff's article today, the one that came out detailing more of like the Burke allegations and stuff like that, pretty much shows that, I don't know, there wasn't exactly some nice things going on behind the scenes in terms of that hire. And if all of the claims are true, he probably shouldn't have been in the job to begin with. So I can really only put that on the guy whose kid Burke coached, right? Who put him in power in the first place.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of ideas here in the chat about potential Spirit sponsorships with edible arrangements, which I think is great for those of you who know what that's about on Twitter. But yeah, Angus, I think you've done a really good job here of describing it, and also making sure that everyone knows that this was a team effort in the stands. And I don't imagine that it's going to stop. I think that for me personally, I feel like we're approaching a tipping point here for this. The number of stories that are coming up. I think now the league is going to have to probably come out a little bit more, put their weight around a little bit. And I also think that the investigation into Richie Burke's termination, or the allegations around the termination, I think it's probably going to come out here pretty soon. So keep at it. The show is pro this. I would say we're pro this movement, Ted. We agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yes. I think this is a really great sort of thing to see. You're keeping the pressure on, and it seems to be maybe making results here pretty quickly. And I think if DC United fans thought they could do this, they would have done this already. I don't think it worked as easily for DC United. I think there was obviously extenuating circumstances here for the Spirit. But Ted, did you have any questions for Angus?
No, I just appreciate the work Douglas and him did, and in showing in a respectful way. I certainly appreciate. I'm somebody who gets on the people that yell at the DC United Twitter handle or the team's Twitter handle. So I think respecting the people who work there, and we've had relationships with the Spirit Media people, and they've all been fantastic. I mean, we have not had a bad experience with working with the Washington Spirit, but there's a larger thing going on with this team, and it comes from the owner. And I think you guys did an excellent job, and I think the way you guys handle it, as respectful as possible. It's a shame that the man at the top wants to act like Dan Snyder, basically, is what I'm going to go ahead and say it, since I don't have any other comparison to come up with.
No, that's exactly what I was thinking, and that's exactly what I've been thinking for a little while now. And that's one of the reasons why I did get involved. Again, this is pretty much I want to give credit where credit is due. This whole thing was Doug's idea. I was just in the right place at the right time to help out a friend, and then when somebody wants to mess with my friends, I don't like that, especially when they've done nothing wrong. And I'd like to point out that you are correct in your statements as well, so that everybody's clear here. There are plenty of good people in this organization. We do not dislike those people. The reason the banner was brought down is because we have sympathy and empathy with the people who are in the organization, who do try to do their best and do try to make this as good of an experience for everyone and to try to include everyone. However, there are certain people at the top that were called out in the banner that we do not agree with their actions currently, and have not agreed with their actions since a lot of this reporting has come to light.
Yeah. Angus, thank you so much for calling in, man. Really appreciate it. And you're always a pleasure to have on the show. Call in anytime.
Enjoy the international break, Angus.
Of course, guys. Yeah, I will.
We've got some folks here in the chat who would like us to buy the Spirit. I encourage. We'd love to do that. I think it would create. I don't think I could credential myself at that point. I also believe that we need a minimum threshold of $20 million net worth. So we're very close. I think we're right on the edge. I think if we get a few more Prime subs this month and some new Patreons, we're very, very close. So consider that.
Yeah, and I want to add some thoughts. I really think we talk about the incident that happened with the service member appreciation event, and then the person they brought on to that event. You're like, well, does anyone does mom and dad and the family in the stands care? I will tell you that actions that Steve Baldwin took at this game to silence fans who were critical of him and his ownership of the team, that might cause people to investigate. That might cause people to then look. They see "sell the team Steve" and they're like, "Who's Steve?" Then they do research and they read about Richie Burke and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I had no idea this was going on." And then they're less likely to want to support the team in the future. And then the banner gets taken down. They read the articles. I mean, that can have an impact. Maybe not a big impact. There are people I'm seeing that they say they bought season tickets and they're not buying them next year. At least one person. Again, I know that's not everybody, but I mean so one thing to bring up too maybe is, sorry, you're laughing.
I'm laughing.
What's
the chat. No, the chat is having a fun time with getting us 20 million. I'm sorry.
Donate more Prime subs and get us. If you gotta get us to 20 million, we will certainly consider buying this.
The scarves just got a little bit more expensive. I think we need to maybe make them about $100,000 to $250,000 a piece to make it there.
But one of the more interesting things has been, and one of the stories maybe that I don't think is really being talks about, is the attendance at the games. I mean, when this team did this, and now again, it was it was a sort of special event when they went from the Plex to Audi Field and they had build up and everything. Now they're playing more games there, so people have kind of a choice on, and maybe that's impacting things. But I mean, do you think incidents like this are affecting attendance? Is it something else, or like what's going on? Because this team played at least a couple games at Audi Field and they sold out 20,000. And I don't think they expect to do that every game, but I think you would expect them to maybe at least get halfway there. You know, is it the selling of the players? Is it the players who are no longer there? Like, you know, Rose Lavelle's not there anymore. She was a star of the team. You have Kelly O'Hara, who I'm not going to say is not a big star, but she's certainly not at the level of like a Rose Lavelle. What do you think the situation is?
We were talking about this too before the game about what break even is for this team at Audi Field, because obviously they were probably hoping to get more like the attendance they got when they only had 2 games there. Obviously, that was sort of the motivation for doing this. I think COVID is obviously a big part of it, but if you look at DC United, right, like they're still getting pretty good attendance, right? They're not sellouts, but they're decent. They're sort of pre-COVID levels as far as attendance, even though it's hot in summer. But I don't know. I really don't know what the real challenge is. The attendance at the Loudoun games are decent. They're around 4. They're like 3 or 4. And I think the capacity is 5.5 maybe there. It's something to look at. You know, I think one thing that came up in the article that before Baldwin backed out and didn't want to sell, Kang had brought to him a number of issues with the team, things that needed to be fixed. It sounded like money. Also, to me, my reading of it said financial health of the organization is something at play here, which you could understand. There's a lot of things, if you look at the team, you can understand that's like if you try to buy merch from them and realize that there's some sort of weird rigmarole you got to go through to do that. There's a lot of like small things that you could tell that there's a cash-strapped element to the organization. Not that they don't take care of, you know, something that I'm experiencing, but I think from a fan perspective, there's some of those things. So I think that's part of it. I think if this team does get sold or Kang is able to take over a majority share or more of a share, I'm wondering if that the kimono gets opened a little bit there to say, you know, here's what we need to do. We made this move. We're splitting between here and Segra. They're still probably better off than they were at Boyd as far as an overall revenue perspective, but from a cost perspective, they've got to be way, way up. So I don't know. I think it's part COVID. I think there's almost no marketing for ticket sales in this environment. It's very hard to do that, I think, as well. People are still feeling not super safe about it. But marketing's a challenge. Budget's a challenge, I'm sure. And Rose Lavelle was a draw. Rose Lavelle was a big draw. I think that is fair to point out.
And you have to hope, you know, I think you have to hope you have 2 up and coming stars that once we have this cycle, we start, you know, gearing up for World Cup qualifying, a player like Trinity Rodman or Ashley Sanchez start getting call-ups, start getting appearances, that they can sort of become that draw for this team, because they're very talented players. And now, you know, the team just locked down Ashley Sanchez to a long-term contract. Now, you know, the nature of in WSL, things can change very, very quickly with trades, but it is good to see the team, you know, committing to a player that early. So I think a lot of things. I think there are a lot of things that could change that could get the team more out there. I think you talk about. I think the team needs to realize that utilizing people like the Spirit Squadron, utilizing people like Roseloom Collective to be that avenue to reach out to fans, to bring in soccer fans and create an atmosphere at that stadium that can really boost you, regardless if it's at Loudoun or at Audi. And I hope if ownership does change hands that they're able to finally push the team to say, play it Audi. We're playing it Audi.
And also look at so if you look at the breakdown of the ownership right now, if you can do math, Bill Lynch owns 30%, Baldwin I believe owns 35%, and then Kang I believe owns like 34.9 basically. So you're pretty much at 100, right? I think there may be another minority owner in there as well. And then you have Ovi and the 7,000 other owners that got brought in. Clearly, similar to LAFC, these are owners. There's like a fractional share of an owner situation. I'm wondering if they're able to sort of leverage their megaphone, their brand positioning, all of those things to sort of either encourage a sale or also like maybe say, this is my opportunity to maybe make a bigger, maybe get a. Ovi is the one I'm thinking of. So Ovi was looking at this originally in the interview, was like, I'm thinking about my business after the fact. I'm thinking about diversifying as I'm getting older in my career. Like, buy 5% here, Ovi. Like kick in some actual money here, and then you have a voice at the table versus the situation right now where there's only 3 voices, and one of them apparently is the loudest voice. Morty, the comments again, great engagement here on the chat here. Morty Renee says when we were talking about why this is happening, or why there aren't great crowds, is that she feels like there's no marketing happening except the people who already follow on Instagram and Twitter. And to that, I would say, yes, I know RFK Refugees does that, but what about the Spirit? we have a similar challenge. And also, Doug says the Spirit front office is not supported enough to do their jobs. Look at the number of ticket salespeople there are there. If you look at the number of NWSL staff there are there, you want to talk about a skeleton crew operation. It is very much I forget the stupid phrase. I had an old boss that used to say something, cook and bottle washer and something. Basically, it's a dumb old person saying that means that it's a guy who does 9 jobs. And that's happening at NWSL, the league itself. It's happening here at this team. It's happening in DC United too, but to a lesser extent. There's more.
DC United's turned that around. Yeah. I think they're starting to turn the corner on that. I don't think there's as many people doing multiple jobs there. But I mean, it's the nature of an operation. I think like this, and I don't know. You change that with more investment. Maybe Michelle Kang gets majority chair. She comes in and she says, no, I want to invest a lot of this. I want to put, money towards this. I want to hire more staff. I want to get more marketing. I really want to give this a full chance. I want to, convince DC how much money is it going to take for us to just play at Audi Field full time. You guys already are going to have a W League team coming. You don't need us there. We're clearly deserve to be on a real field, in a first division class stadium. We'll see. I think this could be, it feels like we're nearing that rock bottom where things start to maybe turn around, and maybe something happens this week. I think Lisa Long needs to consider, she needs to step in and she needs to say, she needs to go to Steve and say, look, Steve, it's great that you've been with the team. We need to get you out of this control. We can figure out a way maybe that you're still an investor in this team. But or we need to come to a conclusion here, and you need to pass on the reins here. This is not good. This does not look good for our league. This does not look good for anybody. And it's going to impact players wanting to come here. It's going to impact the overall health of the league. She's had a very challenging tenure as commissioner, to say the least. That is an understatement. A lot of things. Yeah, a lot of things outside. Some successes, obviously, with the LA team coming back is big, but yeah, I mean, this is I think a moment for her, if she can figure out a way to get this to a resolution, not just the status quo. And I think you talked about, you mentioned, I think on our pre-tape, that maybe Baldwin's trying to play this as where he gets forced out and, lawsuit. And you talk about an organization that's bare bones and has little investment. So people may not know that a lawsuit actually tanked the maybe it was already going to happen. I think it was the WPS. I want to say there was an owner, funny enough, an owner of the Washington Spirit, who Magic Jack FC, who moved his team, and then basically there was abusive remarks. So abusive remarks towards the team, towards the team and the players.
That seems a common thread here. That seems like that's something that just happens here.
Yeah. And the league forced him out, and he sued, and then the league shuttered their doors, or they basically gave him control and said, "We're done." That was the end of the WPS as an organization. So this is not new to women's soccer, and the NWSL has been able to survive and exist. And right now, that is a huge success story for this league, because there have been a lot of leagues that have come up and have folded very quickly.
Yeah. I called it. Yeah. I think I called it the Deloy Hansen stratagem here. I think that potentially is happening here. I think that the only way that we're going to see this happen is if Lisa Baird really steps in and asserts herself. But we'll see. I think
I'm trying to find that owner, Dan Borislaw. That's the guy. Jeez. He is worse than Steve Baldwin, guys. Go do some research. go do some research on him if you guys. I know it was 2011, but there may be some people who maybe were not familiar with that whole drama that was going on there. So, yes.
So I do also want to talk about the game a little bit here. It was, it was a 0-0 draw, as we sort of talked about before. As the game started, before the game, it was sort of a question: is can the Spirit come out the same way they did against the Courage when they beat them 2-0 during the Olympics break, when there was no Dabinia, there was no Lynn Williams, and there's no Abby Ursig, or Abby Ursig was there in the Olympics game, wasn't actually here for this game. But that was a game where the Spirit came out, really dominated them coast to coast from the start of the game to the end of the game, dribbling past everyone. Ashley Sanchez had a fantastic game. That did not happen, unfortunately. The game, if you have had a chance to check out either Black and Red United's review of the game, RFKRefugees.com has one as well. It was a lot. There were a lot of chances. I believe the Spirit had something like, I don't have the stats in front of me, but it was they had less shots on goal, but they had about 20 something shots. I think they had 24 shots in the entire game. The first half was sort of possession without penetration. There was lots of outside shots. There were not a lot of real solid opportunities. The second half, the game really opened up from both directions. The Courage and the Spirit were really looking for a goal. There was a post, I believe, from a Sanchez close range shot. There were countless shots right over the crossbar for the Spirit. A goal line save by the Courage at a certain point. So it was a game that felt like a goal was coming for like 30 minutes of the second half, but it didn't. It did not come. A draw against the Courage is not a problem. Producer Brian Harris says 21 shots for the Spirit, 4 on target, and I believe there were 5 shots on target for the Courage overall in the game, if I remember correctly. But it was a game that they would have liked to have won, and they probably should have, I think, based on the run of play. But a draw against the Courage, the second place team, is not anything that you want to sneeze at. They're going to play Portland this weekend. That game is going to be very challenging. Portland is a complete steamroller. They have either an 8 or a 10-point lead at the top of the table. They can run roughshod on teams with their second 11. So that is a game that you will really hope. That's a draw. I hope that's a point on the road would be fantastic if that were to be able to happen.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the league, with the exception, basically the difference between 8th and third is 4 points. So there's a lot of tight, and I think they mentioned it on the broadcast a little bit. They talked about how for a lot of coaches, it's we need to focus on ourselves. We're not going to think about the league. We need to go out and get the most points that we can get out of this. And like you said, I thought, I guess some thoughts I maybe had from the game. I thought Sanchez again looks good. I thought Audrey Bledsoe came out and made some really, really good saves. Lynn Williams, I felt like was going to pounce, and I thought this was going to lead to a disappointing loss in this game. But Bledsoe came out and just made some absolutely incredible saves in this game.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Kelly O'Hara also looked really good too.
She did
going down the line. She made some created some good opportunities for the team.
Yeah, Bledsoe was very good at getting off of her line to sort of snuff out chances, because a lot of the opportunities were balls over the top, sort of trying to challenge the center backs. Emily Sonnet looked very good in center back. Something to note was Paige Nielsen playing right back. Was right back or left? Right back, a position that she's known to play everywhere, but she also played right back. She looked pretty good there. She picked up a knock and made it to about the 60th minute. Rodder came in and replaced her, and I think looked fantastic as well. So the back line, I think the reinforcements of the Olympians coming back to the back line will help. I think the defense has gotten stout again. It's really a matter of continuing to put the pressure on, continuing to finish the opportunities as they're being created. They are being created. I think that they would like to settle less for shots outside the box like they had to in this game. That's not really been the way that they've scored, but they were forced into it by a Courage defense that was sort of giving them.
Yeah. the Courage are doing a very good job staying compact in that box and really I think their whole goal of this game is we cannot get into a track meet with Trinity Rodman and Ashley Sanchez because we will lose that game. And their idea was to stay very compact, and they did a good job at that. There were Spirit got a couple of chances. They have a lot of quality there, but I thought they did enough to sort of keep it from being like where you're thinking you're going to score a goal. I mean, you hold a team, they get 21 shots, and they're only able to put 4 on target. It means they're taking a lot from outside the 18. You would like to see the Spirit put a little bit more opportunities right at the keeper. Maybe get some more close-up opportunities. I think Ashley Hatch was a little bit invisible in this game. I can't remember too many real clear-cut opportunities she got in this game. Maybe one I can think of in the back of my head. But yeah, we'll see what happens. They got a game next week. We will not be back next Monday. We are taking a little bit of a break.
You are witness to the first RFK Refugees 13-day break in 3 years, probably. I think that's probably right. If something changes here with the Spirit in the next 13 days, we will reconvene. We will come back from our Mai Tais on the beach virtual vacation that we're all taking from each other. But if it doesn't, then we're actually going to take a little bit of a break and watch the international games and probably tweet about it. I'm sure tweeting's never on vacation, never log off. So that's what's going on. But thank you everybody to join the show. Thank you to Gregory, who is just gifting everybody subs here in the chat. If you want to support us, we really appreciate it, particularly if you already were an Amazon Prime subscriber. They reset every month because this is stupid and a scam, not by us, but by Amazon. So if you want to do that again, please log back in sometime in the next month and throw us your sub. And we really do appreciate that. This has been a lot more fun. I think sort of the engagement on Twitch has been really cool. There's lots more stuff that we can do than we could have done on YouTube. So thank you everybody for doing that, for joining us, and the community and the chat is very vibrant and adds another fun element to the show. But I think we're going to go into a very brief hibernation.
Yeah. And SCM Ultra, I'm doing a USMNT pod I need 2 people interested, and John is not an interested party. So look for Twitter. We'll probably talk about a little bit about the USMNT. That is not our wheelhouse. There are a lot of other great shows. Best Soccer Show with Jason Davis, Jared Dubois. They do an excellent job. Feel free to check out them to talk some US soccer. We're going to take a break. I think we're all wanting a little bit of time before we get into the sprint towards the end for DC United, and then hopefully into the playoffs, and we get some playoff games to talk about. Guys, you guys are incredible. You guys are amazing. You guys really help keep the show going. Thanks so much to Rich and Angus for calling in, especially Angus for giving us the story, giving us some more details about what happened on Saturday. Hopefully that we get some positive news related to the Spirit. Hopefully the positive news continues for the DC. I think you know what, I could handle the US losing all 3 games if Paul Arriola, Edison Flores, and Andy Nahar all come, or I guess Paul Arriola gets healthy, but Edison Flores and Andy Nahar come back healthy.
Wrap them in bubble wrap.
That is my number one. That is my number one thing right now. If any of them get injured, I am not going to be a happy camper. It will not be a fun vacation. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. You guys are incredible. We will catch you guys in a couple weeks unless things change. Bounce.